Good morning, friends. Grace and I hope you're having an absolutely glorious day. It's a beautiful Pennsylvania morning. The sun is just rising, the birds are singing, and the limelights are in full bloom. So it's always a good day when there's lots of Panicle Hydrangeas to see and tour. So this year I was really trying to embrace bold colors here in the main flower walk. And so I used some bedding annuals, which is not something that I would normally do. I normally only do annuals for cutting. But as you can see, it's about, August 10th today. At this point, I pretty much cut everything from the main flower walk that I plan to cut, with the exception of the fluoride zinnias, which aren't in bloom yet. So if I didn't have these sun patients, I think the main flower walk would be beautiful and green, but it would just be missing the color and the vibrancy that I'm really going for in this area. And I really love all the contrast. We have this beautiful boxwood at the entrance. This is a sprinter boxwood. Those are supposed to smell a little bit less than your standard boxwood. I think that is somewhat true. The anemones are coming in and out of bloom, but don't you just love seeing these sun patients? I love the foliage. It brings a nice tropical feel to the garden, and I love it right next to the golden sage. Such wonderful contrast, backed up by the catmint, which I've cut back a number of times. This year we added in the alfresco fountain from Henry's studio, and isn't that beautiful? I could not be happier with this fountain. Absolutely no problems at all. Easy to clean, easy to keep clean. I just use hydrogen peroxide. We've been getting a lot of rain. We had a really big heat wave, followed by torrential downpours from Debbie. And so you might notice that some things have actually rotted in the garden. Specifically, the lamb's ear really suffers when we get those really heavy rains. But look at these gorgeous limelight hydrangeas. I think this one is maybe about 9 years old now. Easily 10 feet tall. Probably more like 12. Let me see if I can step back without falling into the garden. Maybe I'll try to overlay some footage for you from back in the corner, because I can't really walk back there. Here we have Saving Grace. This is the cutting from Jung's seed, and the butterflies are just loving Saving Grace. As soon as the sun comes out, she's just covered in butterflies. And what I did with my personal stock of Saving Grace, because of all the crazy weather that we had, is that when they were in peak bloom, in I think early July, I cut them all the way back to the ground. And I will show you one that I did that too, because it's starting to come back to life. Here I have some Limelight Prime hydrangeas in pots, because I'm going to be reworking the raised bed garden come fall. Probably as soon as my daughter goes back to school, I'll start on that project. I also decided to add some more pots into the garden. So here I have this pot of some patience. Isn't that beautiful next to the Incredible hydrangea? And the crabapple is doing so well this year. They have been struggling for a few years, but put on a lot of fruit this year. The dark foliage behind that is ginger wine 9-bark, and a golden hinoki cypress follows that. This lady's mantle I cut back down to the ground about 2.5 weeks ago, and it's reflushing now. So here you can see, I think we have a bee still asleep in Saving Grace, because like I said, it's only about 6:30 right now. Now in retrospect, I wish I had only used sun patience, but I purchased all of these compact orange sun patients that the nursery had, but I still wanted more orange in the garden, and this area over here is full shade, where this is full sun. So this area near my garage is basically full shade until about 3 to 4 o'clock, and then it gets the afternoon sun. So I did put in some orange begonias here. I don't like that as much as the sun patients, but live and learn. Here we have some lime nicotiana that just tends to reseed itself each year. And as we leave the alfresco fountain, you might be able to hear the terrain fountain in the background. I'm going to take us in a different direction during this garden walk and talk. I'm going to turn us, almost fell over, go figure. I'm going to turn us this way. So here we are at the stone rug, where we have my grandma's lamb's ear. And everything that was in bloom over here at the moment is pretty much done, or is looking pretty tired, but that's okay. What I want to do is take us backwards through Hummingbird Way and around Hummingbird Way. Some people were saying it helps if I don't stop at all during these tours so that they can get a better sense of the layout of this property. Now friends, I don't remember this happening in years past, but the sensation honeysuckle, is it sensation or sensational? It is re-blooming, and the fragrance is so wonderful. Let me show you a bloom. Here's what the blooms look like. Oh, stay in focus. There it is. And you can see we have the apple tree above us. But the fragrance of sensation honeysuckle is just so phenomenal. And you can see how this branch from our Macintosh apple tree just gently glides over these arbors. And a lot of people ask me about these arbors. They're from Plow and Hearth. Sometimes you can get them on Amazon, so if I can find a link, I'll go ahead and put that in the description section below for you. So at this point in the season, almost all of the hydrangeas are pretty much a dusty green, a dusty soft pink. In fact, I even think that, the firelight hydrangeas, even those ones have changed colors. So this is as far back as I can go before we hit Grace's garden. And so that's kind of the view from back here. And some people were wanting a closer look at the terrain fountain, so I can show you that. Right above the terrain fountain, we have this crepe myrtle. I got that from my girlfriend's nursery probably about almost 10 years ago now. It wasn't labeled, so I think she sold it to me for only a few dollars. So you can see it has a really nice deep basin. And you might remember the begonias that we planted up in the front yard. I stole a few of them and moved them back here. And I'm just going to leave them in the ground and see if they come back. Now that we're a zone 7, I'm going to try and leave more and more things in the ground. And I think I need to update my video on cool flowers, because over and over again in that video I said, I think this overwinters in zone 6B. Well, now we're 7A, and that kind of matches everything that Lisa said in her book, Cool Flowers. So what do you guys think about the sun patients? Are you growing them? Do you love them? Do you not love them? I can't imagine not growing them after seeing how well they perform in the garden. And these ones right here are pretty much in full shade because we're under the canopy not only of this apple tree, but if I turn you toward my storage area, there's a huge oak tree above us too, and another apple. Hey Grace. Gracie says hi. So let's go around the hydrangea room. I'll show you one more time the hydrangea that we propagated together a few years ago. This is Nico Blue. And you can see kind of how big the plant is after 2 years, and it put out 1 bloom. So I think next year will be the year that it really shows off. And we have a nice big hydrangea bush to enjoy. We're passing by, oh, here's a nice comparison. This is Invincible Lace, and right next to it is Haas Halo. So it's a little bit harder to tell the difference between the two in the fall, but Haas Halo still has bigger blooms, bigger bracts. Both beautiful, but you can kind of see the difference. Perhaps the leaves on Invincible Lace are a little bit darker too. So just beautiful, nice and green. There's nothing more serene than an all green garden. Incredible hydrangea right here. You can kind of see that sensation honeysuckle. More Invincible Lace. So I'm going to take us through the hydrangea room the other way now, so you can see how all of these areas connect. And then we're going to come back to the raised beds, and I'll show you the new plans that I'm working on. There are pretty much two different options, but one thing that remains the same either way is the pathway, and I'm going to be working on the pathway first. My goal for the raised bed garden before we hit fall and winter is to just get the pathway done, and then we can tackle everything else next year. So here's that new bench that we made, just with logs around the property, and this is where Harry's buried. So this gate leads us over to the driveway garden, and you can see there where I have some of the Insta Hedge that I didn't plant that in a video, but there was a little bit extra. So I surrounded a really old limelight hydrangea. And now that I think of it, that limelight has been with me almost 20 years. I brought it over here from our old house, and I cut almost all the blooms and sold them just the other day. So we're pretty much, I would say maybe about 3/4 the way through this driveway garden renovation. You can see that I need to carry over the liriope and continue to line the entire driveway with it, but I'm going to wait until the fall to do that because I'll get us in close. It's blooming right now, so I don't really want to take any divisions of it. But this is all from a neighbor maybe 3 years ago, and she gave me a really small clump. She just threw it in a box. I left the liriope in the box for weeks on end, and since that time I've been able to divide it over and over and over again and line almost the entire driveway with it. So here we have the repetition of the boxwoods. I just put these in a few weeks ago. And I can link the video where I started the driveway garden renovation. And I was just really talking about how I wanted to kind of transition this garden from a high maintenance garden into a low maintenance garden. Probably better to say lower maintenance because there's always maintenance in any garden, but really switch over to shrubs in this area. Shrubs for cutting. I'm repeating the same perennials over and over again. The serendipity allium, I can get us close on these things. So here's the liriope, and this hedge I took divisions of last fall, so by next year they will touch. But if you look back at the videos, they looked pretty sad when I divided them and put them over here, but they're doing absolutely fine now. Some weeds in here, what can you do? Actually, that's Tree of Heaven. We definitely want to pull that. Serendipity allium there. The sprinter boxwoods. So this is going to be primarily a purple, white, and green garden. I kept everything that was purple and white, and then I also kept pink country and gaucho lily. Those are pink lilies. I can pull us back here and you can see that this is the liriope that hasn't been divided in a while. And let me take us to the other side so I can catch you up on that yew hedge that we put in. So we should get back here and weed this area. I noticed that what's happening is that we're getting a lot of violets in this area, but we're also getting a lot of Kusa dogwood seedlings. And I dug one of them up and gave it to my dad because he's really into bonsai. But you can see all of those dogwoods, actually Rose of Sharon, dogwood, weed, violet. But the Kusa dogwoods are just popping up everywhere. So if I back up towards where I have the flower stand, this is kind of what it looks like. So I'm really excited for these yews to grow up and eventually give us a beautiful green screen back here. And so here's where I put that row of Pinky Winky Hydrangea that is. And I don't expect them to put on any growth this year. Hopefully they're growing well underground. And my main goal for this garden is just that it looks nicer in the winter, that it has more evergreen interest in the winter than it ever has before, and that it's just a little bit less maintenance for me. So if we back up away from the driveway garden, we start to get the sound of water again from the alfresco fountain. You can see one of our apples there, fig, Kusa dogwood, and then the pussy willows and Rose of Sharons were here when we moved in. And if I continue to back up, we end up right back in the main flower walk, where we're greeted by that beautiful 9-bark and the serviceberry. And that's how all of these gardens connect. So now let's head back to the raised bed garden for a tour. I'll show you what's blooming there, the successions that I have coming up, and also reveal the plans I have for this garden moving forward. So I'm going to walk you into the library soon and show you the plans that I've drawn out, but I can tell you that all of these raised beds are going to go over in this corner where they're actually going to get more sun now, because one of the problems that we experienced is once we put the library here, it really shaded these central beds. And I think that my cut flowers are going to do much better located in the very back of the property, which will then allow us to landscape the area in front of the library as a living space. This is where I'm going to put the book nook, right in front of the library, and I'll show you those plans in just a second. So before we head in, I can show you what's going on out here. Now, I have been observing that with all the rain that we've been getting, the oregano and even the thyme is suffering slightly. So maybe if I didn't have mulch here and maybe I had gravel, that would help. But you can see what happens in our climate is a lot of times things just rot because of how wet everything is. That euphorbia is coming back from last year. It seated itself in between the cracks, so I just let it. I kind of like this patchwork of herbs and euphorbia. So we'll see if we carry that through once I show you the new plans. So here in this bed, we have the seed collection that I'm working on that's going to be called Sharing Grace. These are all daughters of Saving Grace. A lot of them came back from last year, and I know some of you even helped me name some of them. I think this one might have been named Val's Glory for someone's dog, but I basically just kept all of these and let them come back. I hope you can see that's a tarnished plant bug right there. Let me get close on that. Those can do a lot of destruction in the garden. So a lot of my bigger dahlias I'm going to have to start to put bags on. But all of these Sharing Grace dahlias are just so sweet. They're all single open face dahlias. So the bees and butterflies just absolutely adore them. And then in this other raised bed, we have some more of Sharing Grace right here. This one my daughter picked for me just the other day because it was my birthday. So she picked me a bouquet of some of Sharing Grace. And then if we circle around this chair, you can see Martha Miller, which is the dahlia that I named for my grandma and is in production over at Jung Seed. Isn't she beautiful? To be honest with you, I think I like the look of Martha Miller better than I like the look of Saving Grace, but they're both wonderful. It's really special, isn't it? And doesn't it look great paired with the forget-me-nots that we just seeded around these dahlias? So in these back raised beds here, or sorry, in these middle raised beds, is where I just have a lot of different kinds of tomatoes and herbs. Some of my taller dahlias are in the back, and I've been cutting all of those. These central raised beds, and I'll get close on these for you, have David Howard and Joey Frambo. Here we have the floret zinnias. That one is just starting to open, but I think by next week they should be looking good. We should have some open, and then the week after that they should put on a really fabulous show. So it's been really hot and dry. We just started to have these torrential rains recently, so David Howard is blooming, and it's showing its pollen right away because of how hot we've been. It's still just such a beautiful dahlia though. I love that dark foliage with the orange blooms. And then right in front of the library we have that Joey Frambo. Frambo or Frombo, I'm not sure. I think it means raspberry. But I wanted to plant this one because I had read that it's a really wonderful, prolific producer of small dahlias that are really great for cutting. So that's a look at that one. These dahlias right here haven't even bloomed yet. And just some more celebrity tomatoes interplanted with basil, black Russian tomatoes. And so let me just pull you back. I want to show you this really beautiful bell pepper. This is called Purple Beauty. Isn't that gorgeous? I love growing peppers. So here's a look at how the purple hyacinth bean vine is doing. And we planted this bed with the radishes to help break up the soil. They all went to seed, and I'm just letting them decompose right there in the raised bed. But this is actually one of the beds that's going to move. But check out that purple hyacinth bean vine. Isn't that gorgeous? The hummingbird is coming to visit this, which is so special because when you're in the library, you can see the hummingbird from inside just loving these blooms. This is our desert sun sunflower, which, you know, is pretty much done, but is still putting on some smaller blooms. And so in this area that's pretty much completely uncultivated, I'm going to show you that this is where a lot of the raised beds are going to go. This plum tree is going to move, and we're going to have all of the raised beds for cut flower production over there. So let's head into the library now, but I wanted to show you this seating here under the Kusa dogwood. This is also going to change, and I wanted to show you that so you could see where it currently is. Friends, I hope this video isn't too disjointed at the end. I had to stop a couple times to take some important phone calls. Here is the Marrow Star Dahlia. Isn't that gorgeous? The blooms are huge. I need to get some more stakes for that. But let's head into the library so I can show you a look at the new plans. And here's Grace. Grace has taken over the chair for today. And take a look at this. I'm not sure if you've ever seen what it looks like if you're looking into the mirror and out into the raised beds. That does look really nice, doesn't it? So I tried to find some books that had something somewhat similar to what I'm going to try to do. This is one of my favorite books. I'll link it in the description, Private Edens. You might not be able to buy that anymore. That one you might need to get from the library. And to be honest with you, I really couldn't find anything that looked like what I'm imagining in my mind. This is kind of going to influence what I want to do, but still, none of the books really had exactly what I was going for. So here's the plan. So here's where we are. We're currently standing in the library, and this is where all the raised beds are. So if you can imagine in terms of where exactly things are. Here, where I'm going to have a yew hedge, a short yew hedge, is where those front raised beds are. And here's where the 4 middle ones are. And then the one with the hyacinth bean vine is right here. So all of those are going to go away. They're going to all go over here. Here's the fence line. And so in the middle here, I'm going to do another really small stone deck that matches the one that already exists with a stone step going down. And then here in a circle, we're going to have a gravel seating area that connects the 2 stone walkways. I've seen that done before and it's really beautiful. I just couldn't find a picture of it. We will have room to put all 6 Adirondack chairs in here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 facing each other. Normally we'll leave this open, but it will allow us to bring over a movable fire pit if we want. Now right next to the library, right here in the corner, now we don't have even spaces on either side, mainly because of the fence line right here. But so I want to go Haas Halo in the corner, 2 Haas Halos right here. Those get tall about 5 feet. 3 Haas Halos right here in front of this window, which, let me turn us. So if you can imagine, 2 Haas Halos out this window. So for reference, those Haas Halos are right there. Another Haas Halo in the corner. And then around the gravel deck, hugging it in a circular formation, I want to have Limetta. These hydrangeas are subject to change based on availability and quality, but the size hydrangeas I want for this area will remain the same. So Haas Halo being taller at 5 feet, Limetta being more like 3 to 4. And then what may or may not happen, depending on budget and the type of help that I might be able to acquire, is that I want to surround the entire thing in a yew hedge, Hicks yew, but I'm going to, and I'm purposefully choosing yew for this reason, because I want the yew in the back to be much taller. I'm going to maintain that at 8 to 10 feet. And the yew on the side, I'll probably maintain at around 4 feet, so that when you sit in this central area, which I'm going to call the book nook, this is going to finally be the book nook, that you will have privacy when you sit down, but when you are in here standing, you will be able to see over the yew and into the gardens. So I think Grace is pretty happy with the plans, and now that I'm standing back away from that drawing, I hope you can kind of picture what that would look like. I might also choose to maintain a portion of the yew as it turns at 8 to 10 feet, because I really don't want to see this fence at all. I just want to see beautiful evergreens right there. Well, friends, thank you so much for joining me for this week's garden walk and talk. Tell me how the sound was. Was it okay? Is this mic working out for us? I want to wish you a wonderful day out there in your gardens, and Grace and I will see you sometime soon. Bye, friends.